G'day guys, we're here this week with the Kia EV3, and this one that we're reviewing is the Air. Now, you would have seen our review on the GT line, and as promised, we have brought you a review on the entry-level model. I will try to get my hands on an Earth edition as well, so that way we can cover off each of the models on what I think will be one of Kia's most popular small vehicles in the near future. Now, this car here is fantastic. It's got incredible design, it stands out, and it takes away the bland out of electric cars. Front daytime running lights just give it a nice firm presence, and the front doesn't look like it's trying to be, well, you know, one of the first generation EVs that came out that was super popular at the time, which will remain unnamed. It's actually got its own distinctive design. It's a bit of a box, it's a bit square, and if anything, it looks a bit futuristic, but without being experimental in design. It just makes it look fun, tough, and exciting, which for a small SUV, but also a EV, both of those things in both of those categories completely separately, actually is really missed. Like, a lot of cars have become a little bit bland, a little bit the same. So that's what you get there. Front parking sensors the whole way around here give you really accurate parking assistance at the front, because this car doesn't come with a 360-degree camera system. In fact, the EV3 range itself misses out on the 360-degree cameras. Instead, you get one reverse camera, and well, I'll share my thoughts on that in a little while. The rest of it is, well, pretty clean and pretty straightforward. Obviously, it doesn't need a big grille at the top here, so it only has a little bit of ventilation down the bottom. The rest is just a clean, nice, very well designed and sculpted front end. Now, let me pop the bonnet. There's a little bit of a surprise underneath. The surprise underneath is, well, it's got a frunk, but not just any frunk. It's got somewhat of a small, somewhat convenient city frunk. Underneath here, I'll just pop this up. So that's the insert for one of the sections of the frunk. Approximately, compared to my iPhone, it's just under 2 iPhones in height for the iPhone 13 Pro Max, right? So using that measure, which is completely unofficial, that's how much depth you have on one side. So you can see that you probably have an iPhone Max worth of height on one side, and then on the other side, just slightly above that, but not quite the full height. So you're not really going to put a ton of things in here. You might have your additional cables. Perhaps you want to keep your handbag in here, or you want to keep maybe your wallet. If you go to the beach, you want to keep everyone's wallets and coins and money. Or alternatively, phones or things like that in there. It is insulated at the top here as well, so it will help protect it against any heat. Or if you're just picking up lunches or maybe the dinner at night and you don't want it rolling around your car or smelling up your car, you could probably just pop it in there and you're good to go. It is aligned with these felt inserts that you can easily take out and just use the plastic underneath. So if you even wanted to put a bit of ice in there and potentially keep some brewskis during summer, you have that option as well. Talking power, seeing as there's no engine, but we'd normally talk about power here. It's 150 kilowatts worth of power, 283 Newton meters worth of torque. And when it comes to charging, you have a charging port just here, which might not be my favorite design for the location of a charging port, mainly because, well, the flap extends out quite a bit, and when it comes to potentially street side parking and trying to charge on some curbside poles or charging poles, it may not be as convenient. But if you're charging at most chargers, we've not had a problem just yet. You do need to get comfortable with where the front of the car is, and that's where that 360-degree camera may have actually assisted you getting a bit closer to that charging station to make it easier to plug in. You should have a range, according to the rating, just over 430 Ks of distance under WLTP riding. And right now you should be seeing a little pop-up that tells you how much range you're actually getting, or you would have just seen it just before. However, under normal day-to-day driving, which just like normal petrol or diesel cars, that range is going to vary a little bit. And to its credit, it's giving me slightly better performance out of this battery and the power that's available than my previous Model 3 that I did a long-term test on a couple of years ago, where I did about 90,000 Ks just to see what EVs were about. And that car there was giving me about 350 Ks worth of actual daily usable range. This is going to be about the same, about 350 kilometers worth of range. Obviously, that's plenty for road trips. If you do want a bit more of a buffer on some of those road trips, you're more than able to go for a larger capacity battery, which is found in the long range as well. Now, the long range will give you I think it's just over 600 kilometers under the WLTP rating as well. But with that 600 kilometers, the one thing I'd say is it takes longer to charge when you are on those road trips. And I personally am a big advocate for about that 400 kilometer WLTP rating, which will give you real world 350 kilometers worth of actual driving. And I think that's a perfect balance for those longer road trips. It's 2.5 hours worth of driving, quick top up for 10 minutes, top it up, keep going, and Bob's your uncle. So let me know what you think in the comment section there. Now, if you come around to this side, I'll show you what charging outlets you have. Here in Australia, obviously it's the Type 2 CCS charger output. That allows you to charge basically any fast charging infrastructure out there, as well as destination chargers that have been opened up as well. The car itself is capable of 11 kilowatt hour charging capacity. So if you do have 3-phase power available to you and you want to charge at a much faster rate at home, you can. But let's be honest, most people are going to be charging on about 7 kilowatts, 6.5, somewhere around there worth of power capacity. I personally at home charge on a 7 kilowatt hour charger. So I think it's going to be more than capable for the majority of owners, plus the exceptional few that might have a bit more power available to them when it comes to charging capacity. That means if you plug this in at home on a 7 kilowatt home charger, you should have about 55 kilometers per hour that you have this plugged in of additional top up to your range. So in 2 hours, you should have about 110 kilometers of additional range. So with that, let's move around to the side of the car. But one quick thing to point out, the Air comes with 17-inch alloy wheels and tires. They're Kumho wrap tires, and I think they're a fantastic compromise in the city because you're gonna have potholes, you're gonna have unprepared or rough roads that haven't really been maintained all that well, particularly if you live in Brisbane or Queensland like I do. And quite frankly, having that additional layer of rubber, absolute godsend when it comes to some of these Brisbane roads. This car actually drives incredibly well for Brisbane roads and very comfortable on the highway. And if you do end up on gravel roads, it's still very capable and still very comfortable. So let me know what you think in the comments about having that smaller tire and rim diameter. Moving around to the side, you have some cool styling at the back that follows through to that front styling. The latch at the back to get in is just up here. These tail lights and the daytime running light design within that looks really, really cool. Plus the rear parking sensors to complement the reverse camera. As mentioned, it's the only camera you get. And look, to be honest, I think that it needs a little bit of an upgrade in terms of the actual camera used. The quality isn't as great at nighttime, particularly in low light areas, compared to other Kia product. It's not the worst camera that's in the market. It just wasn't at the same standard as other Kia product, particularly if it was a 360-degree camera system. And I think if they would have spent just that little bit more, I don't think consumers would have complained about paying just that little bit more, given that they would have had a really good reverse camera. This limited rear window here surprisingly works really functionally inside when you're driving, and having obviously a flat back makes it a lot easier to navigate. This pops up through here. It's manual and it's fantastic because most of these boots that open and close, they're now electric. And you know, not everyone likes that. Having a manual opening and closing tailgate, fantastic. Parcel shelf blind that pulls out makes it super easy there. And you have 3 levels of boot capacity. So as you can see right now, you've got a flat floor here. Folding those back seats down give you that additional space. But if you wanted to, you can also pop this section down here, lower that shelf. And once you've lowered that shelf, you get an even deeper boot capacity there. Plus underneath that, if you want to have that higher floor and still store things at a deeper level, you also can, and have a 2-tiered system so that things are out of the way and you're not seeing everything. So it works really, really well. Let's get out of the rain and get inside and see what you get inside. Now, moving inside of the EV3, you're met with a very comfortable interior, and I love that it's cloth and not leather or fake leather or premium man-made materials, depending on what brand you're looking at, compared to a lot of other EVs. They've gone for cloth seats, and I quite like that. In Australian summer, particularly in Queensland, this actually is quite a welcome change. Right now, I know it's not summer, but we are still getting some hot days despite the rain right now. And having these cloth seats is actually really, really nice. The cool thing you have as well is a couple of areas here where you've got QR codes all over the place. Those QR codes allow you to understand a bit more about what's gone into the interior, the recycled materials and things like that. If you really want to know, it's there. Outside of that, soft touch materials, hard material at the top, but soft padding just here. Down here is that harder material just there, and a nice soft open glove box. I like that. Over here, very simplistic, minimalistic design. You've got your air conditioning controls for your dual zone climate controls, your fan speed and your mode. And I do love that they've given you actual buttons for this, because a lot of other brands are now dumping everything into one digital display. Super annoying when you're trying to drive. At least this way you could be driving, keeping your eye on the road and literally flicking up and down exactly where the button is. You do have climate control options just here, but if you also then want to see these climate control options somewhere else, you can see them on the display screen here. This display screen, of course, will give you key information, including your distance to empty. Now, it's 55% capacity, and we have about 228 kilometers of range with the fan on. Without the fan / air conditioning, we would get 239 kilometers, so an extra 10 k's worth of range, based on that 55%. Now, we've done 150 k's already, and they've been pretty mixed between city and highway. And they've also been pretty mixed because most of the time I've been running the aircon on at about 18 to 19 degrees, which is not quite an efficient temperature as well. So you're pretty good there. And the great thing is, if you don't want to use the cable for your Apple CarPlay or your Android Auto, you can use the wireless charging pad just down here. It does have a couple of slots on the side that will keep your phone from rolling around, which is super handy as well. I do like that down the bottom, there's a couple of cup holders that just pop out. They're really convenient. The one thing that I will say, right, there's a bit of storage space underneath here for a bag, for snacks, whatever you want. In the GT line that we tested, this was a portable table for you to work on the go. I actually prefer this here, which has actual storage. It's got 2 storage pockets. The one thing I don't like about this is I can't lift it up to easily get underneath here. So it'd be a bit of a pain to clean, and I'm not a fan of that design. But it's a personal thing. There's probably going to be some of you that love it, and you know, you can critique me in the comments if you want. But I think that is just a one disappointing thing, where this is just, it's positioned in a really awkward space for your cups as well. So if you're driving, you put some cups down here and you want to have a drink, I found myself that I've got to actually take my eyes off the road to grab my drink, because this here gets in the way and it's just a little bit annoying. So it's just me being a little bit critical, but it's not bad if that's really the main thing I can critique on this car, because I really enjoy the rest of the car. So there you go. Steering wheel, up, down, and reach, adjustable. So you're going to find your perfect position for driving there. The seat controls are all manual. I really like that because you can quickly find the perfect spot for you. The one thing I wish it would have had is lower lumbar support. That's the one thing it misses out on compared to the electric seats. So that's one thing that some of you may actually want. At the top here, you've got obviously all your cabin lights. You've got a couple of visors with vanity lights just on the sides there. And you do have mirrors, but they are a manual on and off for the light. And outside of that, your indicators are on the right-hand side and wipers on the left-hand side, as they should. Auto on and off wipers, auto on and off headlights, and blind spot monitoring. All the key safety features, they're all standard on this car still. You still have steer assist on the steering wheel, and you also have active cruise control as well. So even though it's an entry-level model, you're not going to lose out on some key safety or convenience features that you've come to get used to now in 2025. And I actually do commend Kia for that, where they've gone, we need to kind of strip some things out to make it a bit more affordable and a bit more entry-level. But what they haven't stripped out is safety or convenience features like those, which are crucial for drives. So I really, really think that's a good job by them. You know, things like, you know, stripping out, I don't know, heated seats, you can live without that. But having some key safety features kept in the car at a base model, I think that's a really good job by Kia. And obviously, you know, goes towards all your 5-star ANCAP safety rating, all that kind of stuff. Let's jump in the back. In the backseat of the EV3, you will actually be surprisingly comfortable with the amount of space that's in here. Now, if you're a leg spreader like me, you're going to have a bit of space between your legs if no one's in the middle. But if you need to keep your legs together, maybe you're squeezing 3 people in the back, you hope that you don't want to squeeze 3 of me in. But if you're squeezing kids, anything like that in, they're going to have some good space. You're going to have a bit of space between your knees and the seat in front of you. I have commented before that this reminds me of one of those rock monsters that you'd get out of those 1990s, Nintendo N64 type gaming era periods. So let me know what you think in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. Outside of that, you got these little storage pockets here. The cool thing with these storage pockets as well is, they've got a little bit of bend in them, so you can have a bit of distance, and you're not worrying that you're going to break some really cheap stitching. Like, the stitching looks like it's done pretty heavy duty and should be replaceable as well should you break it. Isofix points down the bottom on the outer two seats, and the center seat area, well, it's a little bit tight and snug, but it's there. Drop down armrest, cup holders as you would expect, and of course when you drop this seat down, you have your top tether point just here for your child seats, making it super easy to chuck your kids in the back, attach their seats, and not lose out on any of that boot space in the back. But let's go for a drive. Let's see what it drives like and see what you think of the Kia EV3. Now, inside the EV3, the one thing I really do like about what Kia has done with the drive experience is they've really focused on NVH levels. A lot of EV competitors to the Chinese brands don't do a great job at keeping up high levels of NVH control, which means that the cabin on an EV sometimes is a bit noisier than some of the cheaper Chinese competitors. And that's one thing I do appreciate about the way that Kia has gone about this, is they've made sure that this works in that manner. The other thing that I really like with the way that this drives is it's smooth, it's effortless, it has enough power. You definitely will feel the power available to you for that 283 Newton meters of torque and 150 kilowatts of power in the front wheel drive. You don't need any more than that for around city driving. That is just perfect. And when you do want to accelerate and overtake and get up and go, you've definitely got enough power to be able to go and do that. One other thing that I really like as well about the way that Kia has rolled out, some of these power changes is, they're no longer this kind of like instant acceleration to a point of like 0 to 100 in, X amount of seconds. Yes, it's a fast car compared to a petrol equivalent or a diesel, but they've realized that that kind of smoothing out the way that power is delivered. You can still deliver a fast acceleration experience without just constantly throwing you into the back, of your headrest, which after the first or second time of doing it gets really old really quickly when you're using the car as a daily car. In terms of braking, it's pretty good. You will have to get used to your regenerative braking not being as strong as some other EVs if you are coming out of an EV on the lowest setting. However, if you do want to increase your regenerative braking, you can. And as an example, this is now level 2. So if I take my foot off the brake, you can see that we kind of slow down a little bit, but it's not a huge amount of kind of force to stop you from accelerating. But if we go to level 3, which is the maximum, and I take my foot off the accelerator at 60, you can see that our deceleration rate is a lot faster. The cool thing is the car will memorize that for you, so you're not having to reprogram it each and every time. So I do like that. But honestly, around town, you're more than capable of driving this car on level 1 and being super happy with that. One thing I've really enjoyed about the drive is it feels fun. Like, there's a lot of EVs out there that just feel bland. They kind of all feel the same. They look the same and they drive the same. This has a level of fun to it. And I don't know if it's because the looks kind of mix into that fun experience, but I also think the way it drives is pretty good. Like, it handles really well in corners. It doesn't have a huge amount of body roll. It's dynamic in the way that it wants to accelerate and steer. It's not, a track car by any measure, and it's not meant to be a track car. It's meant to be a small city SUV. But they've made it fun and not bland in the way that it drives. It's not washy, which for a lot of EVs, they're either too soft or too hard. This is actually really well designed for the suspension setup and also for the steering setup as well. So you have plenty of, maneuverability. It's going to turn in a really nice turn, but if you want to accelerate really quickly, you can as well. But overall, I really enjoy driving the EV3. Couple of things as well that I will mention. Now, there is a mute function, so you push and hold down the volume button for 5 seconds and it will mute the speed alerts that you get. They're too sensitive, and this is an ANCAP issue, it's not a Kia issue. You know, the bang on 60 k's an hour, you start getting beeps and reminders. The car, and almost every single car on the market now, at 60 k's is not reading 60 k's of true speed, it's just telling you that it's 60 k's, but it's really doing late 50s to mid 50s for some. You don't need to be kind of right on that one, kind of mark, getting a beep and an alert, an alarm to let you know that you're making a mistake. And that micromanagement of speed because of these alarms, I think is actually quite, annoying as a driver, but also potentially dangerous because you're focusing on that rather than focusing on the road. I do like that Kia's system for the driver alert or driver awareness system isn't overzealous. And what I mean by that is some systems, the minute you look at the GPS or the minute you look left or right as you're trying to turn and indicate to see if there's a car coming, the car will start giving you alerts to tell you that, hey, it can't see you. This doesn't do it straight away, it waits a little while. So I think Kia's done a really good job just balancing out the requirements that it needs to have from ANCAP, giving you a safe car to drive as well with some additional cool safety tech and driver aids, at the same time as giving you a car that is just fun to drive. And I think every time you get in the car and go to the shops or go to work, it's just going to be a fun experience. So great job by Kia there on the EV3. I'd highly recommend you take one for a drive. Go to your dealer, let me know. Until next time, thank you for watching.